you a lone wolf? If you're like me, you probably grew up feeling lonely, alone, and always the outsider. If you're like me, you probably remember having only a few friends, and the ones you did have ended up spending more time without you than with you. Maybe this left you feeling rejected, or maybe you tell yourself, it's fine. I don't want to hang out with them anyway. So I grew up in a home with a younger sister, a younger brother, and we even had some foster kids that would join us from time to time. We had a live-in nanny growing up for several years, mostly to tend to my younger brother and sister. So it wasn't like I wasn't used to being around other people. I just really preferred my alone time. As much as I felt sad, because I felt sad for being left out and uninvited. I honestly came to accept that secretly, this was what I wanted because I loved my time alone. To some people, that might sound really strange, but hear me out. Either I could allow this rejection to paint a reality of being rejected, or I could see this rejection as the universe guiding me toward what was best for me, which was to be with myself, which was ultimately my lifelong path, my destiny. But this isn't a path that's for everyone, right? Like there were many years that I struggled with this for sure. But luckily for me, and what I've found with people who are the lone wolf type is they can amuse themselves very well in their own company. So when I was alone, I would dance, I would sing, I'd play music, I'd write poetry. I'd even write out the lyrics to all the songs that I was listening to and sing them back. I'd journal, I would draw and lots of doodles, and I'd even draw mazes, intricate mazes. I'd stare out the window. I do all the things that were authentic to me, all the things that I wanted to do at any given moment. I never knew what an introvert was back then. And so I would grow up thinking that I was a reject and that nobody liked me. And why is it so hard to make friends? And why is it so hard to keep in touch with them? Often I didn't even have a desire to make a phone call to anyone. And I would sit around wondering why no one was calling me. So it did, in fact, take a long time for me to accept that it was okay to prefer being alone. And honestly, I think I only came to this realization in the last 10 years of my life and really, truly came to this acceptance in the last few months. Society teaches us that preferring to be alone is wrong. Like something must be wrong with you if you're alone so much, if you're spending so much time alone, if you're not choosing to hang out with other people and socialize, good old society that expects you to socialize within the societal expectations. We're forced to spend time with people, even if it's uncomfortable, even if it's unnatural to do so. We have to go to school and spend a lot of time with kids that maybe we don't vibe with. And we're under like this pressure to fit in when the lone wolf is essentially a lone wolf. But it can't be a lone wolf because that's not okay in school growing up. You gotta join a little crew. You gotta join a pack. You gotta say yes to spending time with people because that's better than being alone. So such an interesting perspective looking back on what we thought about those people who were loners. And a lot of those people would get into relationships with people that might not be the best for them. It was holding me back from being the true lone wolf that I was supposed to be. So I went many years, a lot of tears, a lot of depression, a lot of heartache, a lot of questioning, who am I? What is it really like to be a lone wolf? Well, for one thing, it's confusing because we're told that connection is the most important aspect to inner peace and happiness. But for the lone wolf, the connection it needs to form is the one with itself. The longer we delay this connection with ourselves, the longer the lone wolf stays in this state of emptiness, unfulfillment, and loneliness. Because what the lone wolf does is it tries to join another pack to feel this connection while it's still not serving the connection to themselves, because their true path is to walk alone. But it takes so long to figure that out. So the lone wolf will pair up with toxic wolves along its path, because before the lone wolf understands its purpose of being a lone wolf, it appears as a sheep. They may appear weak because they're on their own. And as they walk their own path, they might appear sheepish, shy, and reserved, and here to please whoever they meet on their path. And so this lone wolf who looks like a sheep might be fooled by those wolves in sheep's clothing. I spent decades trying to find my pack as a sheepish lone wolf, attracting many a wolf in sheep's clothing. And it would never work out. It wasn't until I stepped out of being a sheep and owned my lone wolf energy that I could accept this lone wolf truth about myself, allowing me to live with so much more ease and acceptance. But I'll tell you, it's not an easy walk. But once you shed that protective wool and you release the toxic wolves that you've been allowing to travel with you, traveling becomes much easier, clearer, lighter. Things start to make sense, and you accept the lone wolf path. If you'd like to hear more stories and tales of the lone wolf, make sure you subscribe and stay tuned as I dig into more details of what it means to be a lone wolf.